Hi Neighbor, my name is Faith Hatton and I am the new producer of Hi Neighbor. We're excited to welcome you to our 6th season, and to start things off, we're welcoming in the month of February by celebrating Black history right here in the High Country. We'll take a look at the historic Junaluska community. Laird Davis takes a look at a Black-owned business right here in Boone. Callie Walton talks to current Christian leadership, and Annie Jones gets personal with the Black Student Association right here at App State. Join us as we say, Hi Neighbor. The historic Black community, Junaluska, located right in the heart of Boone, North Carolina, can trace its roots back to 1850. Now in the present, the Junaluska Heritage Association is working to aid current residents in preserving and sharing the important history and culture of their mountain community. A short documentary titled People Are People, done by former ASU students Pamela Patton and Chad Hester, highlights the history of the community from the perspective of the residents that live there. Junaluska is the only Black community in the High Country, and to join me in discussing its history, I would like to welcome Pastor Morris Hatton, longtime Junaluska resident and former pastor of the Boone Mennonite Brethren Church. Hi, thank you very much for being here.
Good to be here, Faith.
You are also my grandfather.
That makes it real easy. Yeah, that's great.
Keeping it in the family.
Keeping it in the family.
You were born and raised in Junaluska, yeah?
Yeah, I was born in 1949 here in the High Country, and been here most of my life. Of course, with Jones College in Kansas. I did some time here too, and then a little bit of grad work in California, but most of the time I've been here.
All right, so tell us a little bit about the history of Junaluska. How did it happen? How did it form? Where's it located?
Well, it's about a block off, or a block and a half off the historic downtown post office. And of course, from our house, we can actually see the post office. And of course, the county library, that whole community takes up that mountain side up through there. It used to be a large community, about almost 400, almost 500 Black folks for years. The sad part is that, of course, the economy and all of that changed a lot of that, and because jobs up here in the High Country, unless you're in the tourist industry or in the university, caused a lot of folks that are younger folks to move off, and a lot of the families have kind of, passed on. Your great-great-grandfather and all that, they're all gone, the family's gone. But it formed a little bit before the Civil War, and it's been there a long time. The mountains are unique in the fact that although there was some slavery here, it really didn't catch on. And I did a lecture here several years back here on campus for some of the groups, and I shared with them how that a lot of the Blacks that are here in the area got here because the Scotch-Irish community did not like the people in the Piedmont. They didn't like them at all. So they would go down into the Piedmont and buy slaves and bring us up and set us free up here. It really gave me an appreciation for the Highland Games. Now I don't throw telephone poles, and my legs won't handle a kilt, but
you can't do that javelin toss.
No, we're not going to do that. But it was a combination of that and the fact that the mountain conditions were so tough at the time that when people would escape, if they couldn't get all the way up north, they would come into the mountains, and because the conditions were so bad, that for the most part, we were just here. Now, there were some slaves here that were owned, but because there wasn't the great big fields like in the Piedmont, and mountain conditions were really tough during those years, that the people who did own a few slaves had to work just as hard as the slaves. It wasn't like that the traditional slave master, big plantation kind of thing. It was just folks trying to survive, especially in the winters, as we know right now. But we were here, and we've been here ever before the Civil War, and very much a part of the mountain communities. We're really, truly, what's the word, hillbillies?
I wouldn't say that, but you know, we were hill folk.
Hill folk,
people.
okay, you got it.
So talk to us a little bit about the economy. Now I know historically there were black-owned businesses up here. I think someone in our family actually owned a boarding house, and there's also the chocolate bar that I know Mom likes to talk about all the time.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. What was it like growing up?
Well, the person who owned the boarding house was my mom. And we, back in the day when black folks would come to town to work, they could work, and there's quite a few came through and actually worked, but they couldn't stay in town. So Mom created a rooming house, and we had always had people in, because we had a huge house. As you know, that's where your cousin lives in right now, and it's huge. But she owned that. We also owned a cafe, which allowed us as kids to have a place to hang out, which was good. There was the chocolate bar where my sisters and most of the community would hang out, and they'd go down and they'd have meals, and it's kind of a little cafe. And then, of course, probably the most famous business was Horton Coal Yard. Rhonda Horton, Pastor Rhonda, who was really one of my mentors, owned that. He was a business owner. The reason he went into business for himself, and you'll probably see it in the documentary, is that, and I think I shared it on that documentary, but what happened was that he was working for then the Daniel Boone Hotel, and somebody from another part of the South came in, and he was just standing there and doing nothing. Of course, he was bellhopping and stuff like that. Just walked up and just kicked him real hard for no reason whatsoever, except for the fact that he's black. He went home and told his wife, "I'll never work for anybody else but myself again." And he ended up with a very thriving business. And back in the day, they would go to the coal mines and bring a coal in and make sure people, it's like folks bringing in oil now. Pastor Horton would go get the coal, and he actually took care of the entire county, black and white. He saw that black and white folks could eat in the wintertime when they didn't have anything.
You getting choked up? You okay?
There's a lot of memories. And he was very inspiration in it. And the number one preacher in the 4 or 5 county area was your great-grandfather.
Yeah.
And he literally preached in the 3 or 4 county area in every church, and people in white churches, black churches, and people would literally walk out of these mountains to hear him speak. And so
yeah, and he's actually remembered in the Boone Mennonite Brethren Church right now. He's actually got his photo up there with the preachers of the past, and everybody's kind of, we can see him anytime we want to. So now, you did mention earlier that the community is shrinking, but we do have a familial plot, a graveyard, commemorated. So could you tell us a little bit about that? Where's that located?
Well, when I was coming up, before we acquired an area called Clarissa Hill, whites and black were buried in the same basic place. It's actually on campus here. And we were buried down in the lower parts, and a lot of our relatives were buried there. Of course, we were separated, our section of it, and as well as the white community. And just recently, the university, along with the Junaluska Heritage History folks, put it together and got it dedicated, and it's a beautiful spot over there. And I was privileged to be there and do some filming for that. As you know, our whole family's in the television and films and radio.
Runs in our blood, that's right, Well, thank you very much for coming on, talking to us a little bit about that. To see the full documentary, you can follow the link in the description below. And coming up, Laird Davis takes us to an up-and-coming black-owned business right here in Boone.
The High Country has a lesser-known history when it comes to Black-owned and operated businesses in the area, ranging from the Blackburn Hotel in 1857 to Chocolate Bar, a popular neighborhood social club that opened its doors in the early 1960s. Now, Kevin White is combing his way to notoriety in the community, one haircut at a time. Let's get into Boone's business.
Located on 207 Winkler's Creek Road, Kevin's Cuts is a specialty barbershop here in Boone. The shop is run by Kevin White, a barber with more than 10 years of experience.
I started cutting hair because nobody was in Boone was cutting black people's hair. So everybody was messing my hair up, so I said I can do that, so I can mess my own hair up.
White is comfortable with all hair types and textures and offers a selection of services including shaves, detailed cuts, and beard trims. Originally a Junaluska resident, White grew up in Boone and later returned to Boone to open a storefront after noticing there were no specialty barber services for men of color in the area.
It's really nice to be able to come back home and be able to do this, provide a service that nobody was doing here.
With an eye for detail and open communication with customers, White can give a customer a cut to be proud of.
No, seriously, I don't know. I just want to help people look their best. I try to do that for everybody. Like the smile on their face.
Working independently for now, Kevin's Cuts has plans for a new storefront for customers and plans to continue providing barber services for years to come.
All right.
See?
Who's next?
Coming up, Callie Walton sits down with Pastor Reggie Hunt and discusses his ministry and involvement with the community.
Hi neighbor, to celebrate Black leadership in the community, we are honored to be joined by Pastor Reggie Hunt of Cornerstone Summit Church, a Boone-based ministry that reaches out to locals and students alike. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So can you tell me a little bit how you first got involved with Cornerstone?
You know, I worked in the community when I went to school here at Appalachian State, did a couple of youth programs and ministry programs, and we actually started Cornerstone Summit 15 years ago this month with a few other people that had graduated from Appalachian State. So that's kind of, the vision was to have a multi-generational, multicultural church.
So can you tell me a little bit about the history of Cornerstone? Like how did it get started?
When we started Cornerstone Summit, like I said, we wanted to be a multicultural church. I'm a third generation pastor. I grew up in Winston-Salem, went to school here at Appalachian State, and I recognized that in my church, if you were to come to my dad's church, you would be welcome. It just wouldn't be intentional. And some of the churches that I went to that were predominantly white, I was welcomed, but it wasn't intentional. So part of the thing that we wanted to do was to have a church that was intentional about relationships and intentional about reaching people from every life stage and every faith stage is the way that we say it. So that was part of the way that we started. We started with a very young congregation, probably 80% college students the first couple of years, and then kind of evolved to a better balance with community folks and empty nesters and baby boomers and millennials and so forth.
Nice. So why is Cornerstone's ministry important to you?
I think Cornerstone's ministry is important to me because there's not a church that really exists like us. There's a lot of churches in town that I greatly respect and I have partnerships with. I've been in Boone for 22 years now, including my college years. But what I recognized was that we are uniquely different and we are intentionally different. So the easiest churches to build are the churches where you pick a target audience and that's your crew, whether that is upper class white people, upper class black people, whatever. We're building something that is unique and something that's hard. And when we started that, we thought it was a theological conviction that God is not colorblind, but that God recognizes the differences in people and coordinates them through the cross of Jesus. And that's what we felt our church is supposed to be about.
How is Cornerstone involved on App's campus?
So we have a college ministry called Engage that reaches college students. A lot of the coaches that have come through Appalachian in various ways or former students have been a part of Cornerstone Summit over the years. I think that we end up either speaking or reaching close to 1,000 students a year. We try to make sure that we mentor close to 200 per year.
Wow.
So that's been a real part for us. We're also engaged in the different groups on campus, whether we have representation at Black Student Association or again in athletics or in social justice meetings or with other campus ministries, not just ours, but other campus ministries that we partner with on town.
Sounds like you guys are super involved.
Well, we try to be,
There.
but always do better, right?
Yeah, true. So if there was one thing that you wanted students to know in particular about Cornerstone, what would it be?
In our Sunday service are people from every faith stage and every life stage. Some people have been walking with the Lord for years. Some people don't know what they believe, and that's okay. My philosophy when I first started working at App and started working at Cornerstone Summit was to meet people where they are and earn the right to be heard. So that's what I would say to students that are interested in Appalachian. And all the places that we've served, we've always said, regardless of if you ever attend or join Cornerstone Summit, whatever we can do to serve the campus, we like to say our serving is our honor. So we never try to convert people or gather members. We just try to serve in the community.
Yeah, cool. So how can students get involved?
They can get involved in a lot of different ways. We have an engaged student ministry. That's one way to get involved. And then coming to services, 10 o'clock on Sunday morning, and just kind of seeing what we're about. And then we offer a lot of follow-up things after that for students to get engaged. But there's a lot of different ways to serve and a lot of different ways to be involved in community.
So how have you seen the church grow over the past couple of years?
When we first started, we started with borrowed chairs from the rec center.
Wow.
We didn't have a choir. We didn't have money to start with. We started just really small. And over time, we have seen growth. And Boone is a transient community. But we set up and break down for 10 years at a school. And we just moved into our first building right before Thanksgiving. So we've got a lot of moving parts. Kids ministry is growing, and a lot of those things are moving right now. So about to do an after-school program for high school kids, and so there's a lot of growth that we've seen in the last few years. People ask me sometimes, they say, you have a good church. I say, well, I don't know yet. A mentor told me, you don't know if you have a good church until it has grown beyond you. So what I envision in the future is helping other leaders that leave Appalachian that maybe want to plant churches to help support them. I also envision the growth that allows us to be more recognizable in the community. We have a ministry called The Trenches that serves the community, and our philosophy is when the community calls, we respond. As a third-generation pastor, preaching's kind of the easy part. The hard part is managing people and casting vision. When I started almost 20 years ago, I was one of 2 African-American pastors in the county.
Wow.
So to be a full-time African-American pastor with a church in Boone is rare.
Yeah.
There's not too many that have done that, so I think I'm pretty excited to be a part of a legacy and also to be a part of a community like that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So we can't wait to see what Cornerstone accomplishes in the future. Coming up, Annie Jones will give us some insight on on-campus resources specifically dedicated to Black students here at Appalachian State.
Appalachian State University's Black Student Association met for the first time this semester on Monday, January 28th, to usher in the new year. The Black Student Association that was founded on campus in 1974 is one of the university's oldest organizations to date. The organization works to address the concerns and interests of the Black and African American student body and serves as an invaluable resource through cultural programming that promotes cultural awareness. The Black Student Association is committed to promoting a positive image of the African American community at large. They offer Black students a safe space in which they can call home and identify and connect with people within their community. The Black Student Association holds meetings every Monday at 5 p.m. in McCrae Peak Ballroom located in the Student Union. For more information on the Black Student Association, you can visit them online at www.bsa.appstate.edu or visit them on the second floor of the Student Union. Bye, neighbor.
Thank you for joining us today. We're looking forward to a new season here on Hi Neighbor.
If you would like to learn more about Junaluska's history, you can go online to www.junaluskaheritage.org.
And that's all we have for this episode. We're excited to be starting our 6th season of Hi Neighbor, and we look forward to showing you even more of our community. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at watchapptv.com and check out our YouTube channel, AppTV, for more content.
Until next time,
Bye, neighbor.